Yo, what's up everyone, LegendBegins here. We are playing Mountain of Faith, we're doing easy mode, and I have some stories to tell today. It has been a hot minute, as I'm sure you are well aware, or you weren't, and you're just finding this out, in which case, welcome, good to have you. But effectively, the story is not of me being lazy, but of me not having access to any reasonable source of computational power for the past 6 months. Specifically what happened is that, so my water cooler on my PC failed. So it's a custom-built PC, and I have an all-in-one cooler for my CPU. And unfortunately, I ended up getting a bad batch of coolers. So the one that I got has this like dissolving gasket problem, and there was a recall. And unfortunately, I hadn't sent mine back, and I got hit with the exact problem that it was recalled for, namely that the gasket got all gunked up, and it was really gross. So they sent me a new gasket, and I'm like, okay, sick, that's phenomenal. It'll work perfectly now, even though they didn't send me a brand new unit, which I probably would have preferred. Let's get some of that graze, shall we? But, like I said, they didn't send me a new one. Then the one that the replacement gasket they sent me also failed, so I was still out of a PC. And then, when it was failing, I also had the misfortune of, watching my computer slowly begin to die. I don't speak that language, so I'm not going to bother reading it. And the reason I'm not using the translation launcher is just because I didn't want to bother setting it up. And that'll come in later in the story. But effectively, I ended up frying my motherboard, more or less. As I was troubleshooting, all of a sudden I see this spark show up in the corner of my eye, and I'm like, well, that can't be good. Sure enough, it wasn't. It was, in fact, my motherboard on fire. And I'm like, well, this stinks. Like, at first I couldn't get the PC to load at all, or at least half of the time. The other half, the performance would just be abysmal. And at one point, it just gave up the ghost and was like, nope, you did something. And I don't know if it was just like the CPU being faulty, which is probably the case, to be TBQH. But regardless, whatever the problem was, it set the motherboard on fire. And when I got a new motherboard replacement after RMA, it turns out that the CPU itself no longer functioned. And so one of those two things ended up causing the problem for the other thing. So I replaced the CPU, RMA'd that. Fortunately, it was a pretty smooth process. Shoutouts to AMD, you do a pretty decent job at fulfilling these warranty requests. Oh, Hina, hi. But that happened, and all I thought was well and good. I got the CPU replaced. We're in sicko mode now. Everything's going awesome. And so, keep in mind, this is over the period of like 2 or 3 months. Like, just back and forth with RMAs. Because every time, it would take like 2 weeks. And I would have to like send mine back and then wait for the new one to come in. And it was just really, really annoying. And so, around the time I got the new CPU, I'm like, you know what? Because let me back up actually. Windows motherboards, or Windows license keys, I'm still struggling to play even on easy mode and speak. Windows license keys are tied to the motherboard, which is the worst, dumbest design ever. Microsoft, thank you very much, Mr. Gates. And so my Windows license key was a holdover from Windows 7. Wow, I'm stinking this up. And I had done the like Windows 7 upgrade, and that's how I have my Windows 10 license. Which, you know, should be fine. But apparently, when I go to reactivate Windows with the new motherboard, they're like, yeah, as a matter of fact, we can't do that because we no longer activate Windows 7 license keys on Windows 10. And I'm like, well, that stinks, doesn't it? And, you know, Windows 11 is coming out, or rather, it's out, and it's being, you know, an annoying issue. And so, I'm like, well, what do I do? Because I don't like Windows 11, and I don't want to pay for a copy of Windows 10 Pro that I need for some of my fancy computer magic-y stuff. And so I'm like, Windows 12 is rumored to be a subscription service. I don't have any insider information, but I hate the idea. I'm not going to pay a subscription for my operating system. And so I'm like, you know what? Windows is getting worse. I'm eventually going to have to switch to Linux anyway. And here's the interesting part of the story. I switched to Linux. And I'm currently playing on a Linux distro. I'm using Fedora right now, which is fun. I've had high highs and very, very low lows. And I can definitely get into that story at some point in the future if y'all are interested. But currently I'm getting stuff to run. It's working okay. Wow, I stink at this game. But But as I'm running it, and I'm like, okay, awesome, I can start recording again, my GPU pump fails. And for what it's worth, I'm never doing all-in-one water coolers again. Just, oh, they're so unreliable. Because my brother has an all-in-one, and his failed too. So I don't think the tech is that good. Now, I might do a custom loop someday. That sounds awesome, but, wow, okay. Okay, good job, me. Let's just keep going. Anyway, as I was getting at, so the GPU pump fails, and I'm having to go through this long process with MSI, who manufactured my GPU. They send me a new one, and by a new one, I mean they send me the exact same GPU. And I put it very clearly in the instructions, hey, MSI, the problem is that the pump has failed. Please replace the pump. And they send it back, and they're like, yeah, we replaced the chipset. And I'm like, what do you mean the chipset? I needed the pump. For what it's worth, I was very nice to the help people, because the customer service, because it's not their fault. But regardless, I sent it back again, and now I'm like 2 months deep into this. And eventually, they decide that, you know what, we can't fix this. We're just going to send them a brand new one. My new one has more coil line than the last, so my unfortunate circumstances happen to continue. But regardless, I have a working system now. And that has led us to where we are today, where I've finally gotten this configured on Linux in a way that I'm more or less happy with. And we're back, maybe. And so I'm running, like I said, Fedora 39, hoping for Fedora 40 to come out soon. Supposedly it's going to be like April 16th, and it comes with a lot of fixes. And I don't want to bore you, I really don't. I could give straight up an entire lecture on the problems that I've had with switching to Linux. And I'm not ignorant of how Linux works. Like, I use it for work all the time, so that's not the problem. The problem is the what they call the display manager. More or less what gives you Windows, the concept in computing, not the operating system. So the thing that lets you see what you're working on. There's just like, I mean, I could get into all of the pain points, but effectively, they just don't work very well, and there's not a lot of unification if you're doing anything other than like the most standard average configuration ever. Like, it complained at me giving it 2 different monitors of different resolutions, or rather, different refresh rates. And I'm like, guys, you've had this thing for how many decades now? This should be a solved issue. But there is a second display protocol that I was able to use by switching from Linux Mint to Fedora, and that seems to be working fine for the most part. I have some glitches that are hopefully, ideally, going to be fixed by NVIDIA and the Linux developers here in the near future. And for what it's worth, I literally have 3 tabs open to the GitLab issues describing this bug and NVIDIA's supposed fix that's been going on for 2 years. 2 years they've been trying to solve this problem, and they just like can't get a consensus. And I'm thankful to Valve for finally lighting a fire under this like concept of Linux gaming, which should have been better years ago. And like, when you get to the argument for why can't we switch to this new display protocol that works better and, you know, perfect it and everything, everyone's like, oh, it's too fast, we gotta like make changes slowly. This protocol was proposed 15 years ago. And I am like, this is ridiculous. I don't know if y'all even want to hear me rant. I mean, maybe there's nothing better to do, but regardless, I'm like, how much more time could you possibly need than 15 years to set up a working protocol just to show things on a computer screen? And I'm oversimplifying, and I'm sure someone's gonna be like, Legend, you're oversimplifying, it's not that easy. I know it's not easy, otherwise I would do it. But regardless, we've spent a lot of time here, and I feel like it's reasonable to think that we would have learned sufficient lessons to get this working. But the Steam Deck is doing a lot of good work for Linux compatibility. This is currently running under a tech called Proton. It is a compatibility layer, oh hi Notori, that makes Windows games think, to make Windows games think they're running on Windows when in fact they are running on Linux. And I'm sorry, I'm operating on like not nearly enough sleep right now. Time change was last night, and it absolutely destroyed me. Because I can't sleep well anyway, knowing that I'm gonna have to get up early. And the time change on top of that just ended up being a compounding factor that absolutely annihilated my ability to sleep. Hey, a 1-up. So, you know, we're running on Steam right now. And by, I think I meant running on fumes, but you see, it just illustrates how exhausted I am, along with the fact that I'm losing. Let's blame being tired and not just, you know, skill issue, even though it probably is. In fairness to me, this is my first time actually playing Mountain of Faith, and come to think of it, I need to play more of Touhou 19. I don't even know the story of that. I'm, like, way behind. But, you know, what can you do? I am curious as to what the next .5 game is going to be. I kind of want them to make a new fighting game or like a true platformer. That would be cool. 17.5 was kind of neat with the boss rush mechanics. 18.5 was awesome with more of the roguelike mechanics. And I'm really glad that Zuna's adding those. I think that's a phenomenal addition to the gameplay style. At the very least, I like it, as someone who is utterly obsessed with roguelikes and roguelites, and would play them for hours upon hours without stopping if you gave me the opportunity. I have absolutely no qualms with adding those mechanics. This is a pretty easy spell. Unfortunately, I am bad, and I haven't really played much Touhou in a while. But I should play more 18.5. That one was pretty good. Woo! We just gotta give her a cucumber, and that will solve all of our problems. You know, every now and then, I gotta drop a sick community reference just to remind everyone that these days, I am a Touhou community member and know exactly what I'm talking about. You know, we've come a long way. Me starting with Puppet Dance Performance, and literally every episode asking, like, okay, what do these things mean? And straight up, you guys are phenomenal, by the way, because I would just have commenters leave me, like, book-length, like, novelette-length essays in the comments describing everything I need to know about this franchise. And I did learn. It was not in vain, it was not for naught. Because I did learn, I committed them to memory, and I took them to heart, and now I know, like, basically every character except for some of them. Like, realistically, I know every character except for the ones that I don't, and that is pretty good if you ask me. Oh, this is a neat little attack. Good colors. So, one thing I can give to Mountain of Faith versus some of the other Touhou games is that Mountain of Faith at least does a really good job at making sure that I can tell the difference between my bullets, the enemy's bullets, and the background. Some of these Touhou games, and I'm trying to think of which ones, but some of them don't do a very good job at distinguishing between those three things. And I end up getting to a position where I'm like, literally, what is what here? What am I looking at? Unfortunately, that is the case in more than one game, but not this one. Also, in terms of unfortunate, I wish that they would put Imperishable Night on Steam. I love Imperishable Night, and I really just don't have a means to play it. Because I don't want to pirate it, and it's not on Steam, and so I'm just kind of out of luck until something happens, and then they put the binary on Steam, more or less. But what canst one do? Unfortunately, not a whole lot. Are these crows? Ah, neat. I wouldn't have expected crows until the next one, when we're in the underground, trying to destroy Utsuho. But that is neither here nor there. I should get Subterranean Animism at some point. I do like a lot of the characters from that game, including Koishi, who is probably my favorite extra boss of all time. Which I know is like a pretty normie opinion to have. Oh wow, the guy likes Koishi, what else is new? Like, sorry, Sumi, she's funny. I mean, I also like Reimu too, which is like the most basic pick of a character that you could possibly like. But you know what? I'll own it. Reimu's awesome. She is not the Shrine Maiden of Wonder for no reason. Oh, what is up, Aya? What have you got for me? I realize I haven't used a bomb yet. That might have saved me a couple of deaths, but most of those were just literally me running into bullets while moving quickly, and less so like me trying to desperately dodge and then having a moment where I'm like, oh, nope, I can't do this. Unfortunately, losing on easy modo means that y'all now have full authority to make fun of me for this game, so that's exciting. But you know what? Whatever. I will put up with it today, and next time I'll come back, be a little bit more in practice, and I'll be like, wow, Legend, you're so good at this game, and you're so cool and awesome and fun to be around, and certainly not somebody who is on the FBI's most wanted list. That could not possibly be the case. Oh, if I get calls from the feds, I'm gonna be so upset. It's a meme. It's just a meme. Most wanted in Minecraft, all of that good stuff. Hypothetically, you know, if perhaps, maybe, whatever, there are the gotchas to get out of. Man, I should have used a bomb there. Oh well. I don't think I have shoot the bullet either. Wait, do I? Do I have shoot the bullet? I just was gifted impossible spell card. Well, now I need to know, do I have shoot the bullet? I think I might actually. Oh, I actually think I do have shoot the bullet. I've been wanting to play shoot the bullet for a long time. And impossible spell card for that matter. That one was pretty fun. I really just need to get the translation loader on my system. But that said, what do y'all want to see in the future in terms of content? I mean, I can always do more of these. I don't know how interesting they're going to be, but I certainly can. I can do other stuff, like play other fan games. I can play Mario-likes, more Scrimblow, Bimblow platformers. I could make cool AI-like content. Not like AI content made by, or not content made by AIs, but content that incorporates it. So like there are some games that use large language models, like the chatbots, and you can interact with the game as if talking to just like another person, which I think it's a cool idea. Some people don't like them, but oh well. I'm a big tech fan, and man, that is definitely a discussion to be had on another episode where I've got more time remaining. But I think I like technology, man. Maybe the long-term implications aren't going to be that good, but in the short term, like, wow, I really like seeing advancements in human ability and information power and all of that I am saying as I try not to die. Whew, that's a difficult task sometimes. Even though this isn't a hard pattern, it shouldn't be difficult for me to survive, but you know what? Sometimes that be how it is. Also, hi, Sene, the other Shrine Maiden, who is not as good as Reimu. I like Sene, though, unironically. She's one of the better characters in the franchise. In terms of who's my favorite, though, I don't know. I would have been able to tell you, like, 2 years ago, but I've really just gotten to the point where I kind of like everyone for different reasons. I like some more than others, and I dislike some more than others, but, you know, it's hard to name a true favorite. Oh, I'm surprised I lived. Take it. I will take it. I don't like using my spell cards on, or my bombs or whatever, on bosses, namely because I've been trained by Toho 18, or was it 17? No, 18, that I will get some nice bonuses, including like new cards and whatever, if I don't. Whatever the bonus was for... Actually, come to think of it, I think it was in Toho 18, I had a card that would give me an extra life piece if I got through the boss's... the entire boss without taking damage or using a bomb. And that's basically trained me to always, always, always avoid messing up the boss's spell cards. Now, it hasn't taught me how to actually do that, but it has taught me at least to try. Oh man, I love Toho 18. It is such a good game. Whew, that was close. Gotta get that graze, am I right? These are like the classic tracks. This one's so good. Oh, yeah, that one is, this one's a little bit hard to predict for some reason. In terms of, like, predict where it's gonna land. Oh, well. We have all of our energy back. And we have failed the spell card bonus. But you know what? Sometimes it is like that. This is a pretty easy pattern overall. Watch when I end up dying because of that comment, but you know what? We will take what we can get. Whoa! This is cool! Oh, I haven't seen a spell card this cool in a while. Oh, I legitimately love this. Kind of reminds me, yesterday, ooh, that was close. I was playing Remnant 2 with some buddies, and there's this one boss that's a giant cube, along with some, like, additional cubes. Well, so it's a bunch of cubes, right? Some are floating in the air, and some are rolling across the ground, like those enemies in Super Mario 64. And if you shoot out the weak point of the cube, you can jump underneath it when it approaches you, just like in Super Mario 64. And you're supposed to also shoot out the weak points of the cubes in the sky. And it was just the most fun boss I've fought in that game, or I think probably in both of them, because it like combined, I'll call it precision platforming, quote unquote, whatever the equivalent is, precision movement and prediction, split-second decisions with actual shooting stuff, because I'm not that much of a first-person shooter player, but I really enjoyed that boss. It was much more tactical. And so it was a pretty good time. That said, I think that we're out of time, so thank you so much for joining me today. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I will see you guys next time. Goodbye!